All right. Good morning, Carol Johnson.
Good morning, Bob Ponce. How's it going?
It is glad to be here on Wednesday, November 11th, here for our weekly COVID 19 update for Harlem Emergency Network. And I think the lead story we want to talk about today is that the mayor is finally acknowledging that there's a second wave coming. So, this was reported yesterday in patch.com, which is that New York City faces last chance to stop second wave of coronavirus, according to the mayor. So the mayor is now saying what we've been saying for a month. Um, and obviously, what's happening is that these numbers continue to go up. The city saw 795 new cases of coronavirus on Sunday, which surpasses the 550 case threshold. Is kind of like the warning light in the fight against pandemic. So they were way over that. And so we've been seeing these numbers climb up. The positivity rate has climbed to an average of 2.31% over the last week, which means it's creeping closer to the 3% mark. And the 3% mark is the mark where the city says if it reaches that, they're going to close public schools. So, the, this is why, we want to be the early warning system. Is that we can be looking at another shutdown just like we had in April and May if we are not continuing to do the right things in terms of social distancing protocols, washing hands, and all the things we've been talking about for the last 7 months. Um, so it's good to see the mayor is concerned about the growing statistics. Um, we think he's a little bit late to the party, but better late than never. Um, so, what do you think about this, Carol?
Well, I mean, consistency is the key. And,
Mm-hmm.
we got off to a good start in the beginning with Westchester and quarantining that area and
Mm-hmm.
cleaning all the schools down, the um, NYU Law School and Columbia University, where this gentleman was purported to have gone. Um, and so that worked. And for some reason, that just kind of fell off. I think that was the best place right there to continue the tracing. Obviously, they traced him and the testing, and then something went horribly wrong. Um, it's early in the morning. We do this every Wednesday morning consistently for months since the beginning of the pandemic. And,
Mm-hmm.
those saying we're not just doing this for our health, we're doing it for yours too.
Well, we're definitely doing it for our health, but we're doing it for everybody's
You know
health.
what I'm saying? We're
And
not just doing it for our
doing it
health,
for our health. Yes,
but for yours
exactly.
as well. And so
Right.
we're seeing this
I'm,
consistency in the numbers rising. And again,
mm-hmm.
people are tired, they're COVID weary. But the reason why we're going to keep going through this and things will not open is because we are not being consistent with the
Mm-hmm.
mask wearing, with the gathering in groups. Again,
Mm-hmm.
with the holidays coming. The
Mm-hmm.
gathering in groups is just not a good idea
Mm-hmm.
because we still keep forgetting for some reason the asymptomatic people are not going to show temperatures. So you standing at the door and taking people temperatures,
It's yeah, that's theater.
not going to work.
That's science. It's not science, it's theater.
Yeah,
It's supposed to make you feel good. Well, they check the temperature. No one has a raging fever on their way walking in. It doesn't mean that they're not spewing COVID-19 viruses all over the place. It just means they're not one step away from going to the hospital. That's all it means. You
right.
know.
And don't get lost in the fact that you figure, well, if I was someplace with a whole lot of people, I came home, I feel fine. The next day, I feel fine. The next day, you feel fine. The fact of the matter is, you still may not have any symptoms.
Hmm.
And all
I
the people that you're connecting with and going in the stores and hanging with the friends and hanging with the neighbors and all those people, you're passing it. They say that for every infected person, they pass it on to at least 3 people.
I just keep remembering the video clip of the Republican convention when
Oh, God.
Herman Cain was up there hobnobbing and hugging up on everybody and smiling and no masks, no prevention, and in less than a month he was dead. You
Right.
know, yeah.
And now Dr. Ben has
Ben
tested.
Carson, yes, exactly. Also, ignoring science and ignoring protocols. And so we've seen it run through the White House. Mark Meadows, there's so many people in the White House that's had it. And besides the names we know a lot of the White House staff, people who we don't know their names. There were people who got it as well. So we are just advocates of a higher level of common sense for us. Um, and so the other thing we want to talk about, I want to talk about this other article that I read that talks about the research that talks about the declines in death rates. And it's talking about some of the same things that we have been also talking about over the last several months. And so there was a new study that shows that the death rate in New York has been going down from where it was in early March and April to mid August. The death rate had dropped from 27 percentage points to about 3 percentage points. And some of the factors they saw were a younger, healthier group of people were getting infected and were getting to the hospital with less severe symptoms. But that's only one of the factors. The other factors they talked about, and this is something that we talked about and learned in the middle of this, is that the physicians learned that resting COVID-19 patients on their stomachs rather than their backs and delaying the use of ventilators as long as possible were the most effective practices. And so, what we unfortunately learned is that the practice of bringing people into the hospital, putting them on their backs, and then putting them on the ventilators almost was like a an express train toward those people dying. And when they stopped doing that, that was when we started to see the death rates go down. So there are things that we learned. Unfortunately, New York was the crash test dummy for COVID-19 for this country. And so a lot of the reason why we don't have more than 230,000 dead was because of the things that we learned here in New York. However, that being said, if we're here in New York and we don't basically practice what we've learned, then that doesn't make any sense either. And so, we're all about talking about this morning, what are we doing to prepare for the second wave? And make no mistake, the second wave is in effect. We've been talking about it for 3 weeks to a month, and the numbers every week we come, and the numbers have inched up more and more. And so I'm sure that by next week we're going to see higher numbers because let's face it, this past weekend people were in the streets celebrating, and we we understand people had good reason to celebrate and breathe a sigh of relief. But while they're breathing a sigh of relief, they're breathing on each other.
Yeah, yeah. All of the protocols were just relaxed. I was out there and I enjoyed a lovely time out, still wearing my mask,
Mm-hmm.
and still socially distancing.
Mm-hmm.
But I did see a lot of relaxation up around, especially up around 125th Street from east to west.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not going to work, people. Again, we understand we are all tired. But now, with this second wave clearly in effect, with the hurricane season, as we can see what the weather looks like out here today, we're still in hurricane season until the 30th. With the holidays approaching, we need you to really, really get this into your head that this is not going to get any better unless we start to pay strict attention to what needs to be done. It's almost like we're cutting off our noses to spite our faces. It's not going to get any better. And this is proof positive that it is not going to get any better. This started on the West Coast. And then surprisingly, it shot over to New York. But now the West Coast has got it again. The rises are just unimaginable. The amount of infected people over in Texas and North and South Dakota, these places have so many people infected that it was said if North Dakota was a country, it would have the most infected people in the world. Now, what's the population that's infected now in Texas?
Well, Texas just topped 1 million cases, so that's another unfortunate new record for COVID. And the Dakotas, well, the Dakotas don't have the population, but they have the highest positivity rate, I believe it is, in the world. And
Yeah,
so that was as a result of them having this biker rally with 250,000 bikers came over a weekend. And then if you talk about a super spreader event, you literally have the virus being spread in all directions on motorcycles throughout the whole region. And so, we continue to see the reasons why the COVID numbers are going up, and we can directly relate them to um, idiotic behavior, for a lack of a better word.
yeah.
Um,
And
so,
all those super spreader events where people were coming from all over,
hmm
taking it back home.
hmm
And we don't know if back home might have been back in New York. We have no idea where a lot of these people were coming from.
so let's talk a little bit about holiday protocols and what do people need to be looking at right now for the holidays. And so, first and foremost is, um, are you planning to travel, or are you planning to have people travel to you? And so, at the very basics, we know that here in New York, there are extreme travel restrictions coming in and returning. So, if you're even thinking about traveling, you better start to work that out now and figure, on what the quarantine restrictions are if people are actually coming here, or if you're leaving and planning to go somewhere else. So that, Thanksgiving is one of those holidays where a lot of people will travel just for the holiday and come back. um, I would suggest that people don't do that. um, if you're going to do any family traveling for this holiday, try to consolidate it down to one or the other. You're either going Thanksgiving or you're going Christmas, and you really need to figure out those time schedules and where you're going, whether it's feasible to travel there, what are the COVID rates in the places that you either want to go to or places where people want to come to see you. And these are hard conversations that need to be had on a family basis. And part of that conversation needs to consider people who are more at risk, whether they have pre-existing conditions, whether it's age. Those are conversations where we all want to see our family, but it doesn't mean we want to put them at risk. And then the question of how are you traveling? Do you really want to be on public transportation during Thanksgiving and Christmas rush? That sounds like a super spreader opportunity for me.
Yeah,
Um,
that sounds like buying the ticket right into a petri dish.
hmm
You have
hmm
no idea,
Right.
absolutely no idea. But again, when you're talking about weariness, heck, we've been in so many Zoom meetings since April sometimes from 9 to 5, sometimes after that, sometimes 8 o'clock. We're in emergency meetings trying to combat this thing in our neighborhoods. And so for me, that would be an immediate thought for Thanksgiving. Now, the immediate family may still be there, but everybody can access Zoom on their cell phones, on their computers, their tablets. Your immediate family, people that you live with, those people can be in one place. Everybody can go into Zoom. Your family can do the same thing with just their immediate family coming Zoom. And the funny thing is, people have gotten so creative. We've actually had so much fun because there wasn't a lot of alternatives. So, in a lot of cases, we've been performing, we've been watching performances. Um, People were doing costume changes, not a costume party, but costume changes. You had on one outfit, somebody came back with a new wig or whatever. And we just had a blast. Bring your favorite meal, bring your favorite drink, you know, and just think outside of the box. And the sooner we do this, the better. It's not about waiting for a vaccine. It's not about that because we don't really know when or if a safe vaccine is going to be available anytime soon. But one thing for sure, we know these numbers are definitely going to rise.
Right.
That much we know for a fact. So do what you can right now as opposed to waiting for something to change it. You may not be here when the change comes, and you may take some family members with you.
Right. So, number one is figure out what your plans are. Plan to minimize the amount of travel. Use Zoom, use social media as ways where you can create virtual gatherings, but you've got to protect yourself. Everybody knows they want to go to Big Mama's house and have the big meal and have everybody there. That's not really a good idea this year. And so, um, everybody feels put upon by this virus, but don't be those people who are like, it's my right to ignore this stuff and then be 3 weeks later in the hospital because you wanted to not take it seriously. You don't want to be that person. um, the second thing is, so we talked about travel, um, and we continue to tell everybody that this is the time to stock up on supplies because the possibility of another full shutdown is still on the horizon. And so now is not the time. You don't want to wait till the day they announce it. Then everybody is now running out to the stores to get supplies, and you're in the store, and the store becomes a super spreader event because you're trying to fight for stuff that is now disappearing off the shelves. So right now, when you're doing your weekly shopping, you need to be uh, restocking your supplies. You need to be getting your vitamins and nutrients and supplements and putting those things in your house, and plan for the possibility that you might be, as the weather gets cold, staying indoors, more than you are right now. And so these are the realities that it is better to prepare for these things now, and then wait for everybody else to get the news. We've been telling you for the last 3 weeks to a month that these numbers have been going up. But if you want to wait until it gets to the point where the city is now announcing that they've got to do more shutdowns, or the state is announcing it, and then everybody is going to do what they normally do. They get the news and everybody runs out, and then there's nothing there and your prices are gouged. So don't be that person. Prepare right now.
Yeah, and they're already reporting states whose shelves are emptying out, as it was in the beginning. So you'd be the one to go. I mean, usually every week. Very rarely do people shop monthly. Usually every week. People are running out to the store. Start getting an extra 10 pack of TP. Start getting an extra as Bob said, the cleaning supplies,
Mm-hmm.
look
Mm-hmm.
at this. We still can't find Lysol for under, I'm going online, $13, $14 now.
Mm-hmm.
It's never going down. And imagine if it started going at $13 at the beginning of the pandemic, imagine what it's going to be during the second wave.
Mm-hmm.
20, $25 for a can of Lysol.
Mm-hmm.
So we suggest you start using practical measures. You can Google how to make your own sanitizing wipes, how you can make your own hand sanitizer, you know. Uh, and these are just things to be practical and to be careful. Again, we don't come to scare you, we come to prepare you. And one thing that works, why we keep giving you the same message, it's the message that has worked to keep millions upon millions upon millions of people sober. Millions of people have lost weight. Through AA, those 12 steps, the whole thing about those things are repetition, constantly repeating the same thing over again. And so that's what made all of these programs um, work. Gamblers Anonymous, whatever Anonymous is out there, was always built on repetition. And this is why we keep coming with the same message. It hasn't changed.
So this is the COVID anonymous meeting.
COVID Anonymous. But it's just about
Because
over and
COVID
over.
is anonymous. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
it's very anonymous. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the main reason why
Mm-hmm.
it's done over and over and over, because it hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so medically it's been proven. So as Bob said, for all the people who's worrying about their rights being taken away, you don't want to end up in a hospital with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have people who've had it and fought through it, and the results of it, the long haulers, the people who talk about having had it and never before had they thought about getting something, um, getting through it, and then wishing they were dead because the effects are so horrendous.
Um, here's here's a story that got reported yesterday about this wedding on Long Island on October 17th. There was a super spreader wedding. 113 guests and 34 of them ended up with COVID, and and the rest of them have been in quarantine. And so this was at the North Fork Country Club in Long Island. And so we see, it hasn't even been a month, a month after all that's been said, you still see these people who are having these events that make no sense to have them because they want to go ahead and have it. And I don't, for me, the life of me, I don't understand. Somebody has this drive to want to have this wedding, which is obviously we understand weddings are special day, and you want to commemorate the day. But what good is having this wonderful wedding and then 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, most of the people who came are sick, and people may die as a result of it. So by the time you get to your first year anniversary, the biggest memory of the wedding is how many people got died from coming to your event. So
And you may be one of them. I mean,
yeah,
you may not have
ex-
to worry about it because that's
ex-
the event where they were like only supposed to have 75 people and they crowded all those people in.
mm-hmm,
But the interesting thing is they went to 4 different states and began to spread it. They represented 4 different states. But
mm-hmm,
those people went back to work.
mm-hmm,
And somebody went to work in a nursing home and it began to spread in the nursing home. And then somebody went to work someplace else. Was it a hospital? I don't remember specifically where the other place. Oh, the jail. Somebody went to jail and to either visit or work, and someone went to the nursing home to either visit and work or work.
mm-hmm,
And they began to spread there. And so there's no way of tracking. There's the main thing, the tracking and
mm-hmm.
the tracing how many people if you got it right now and you're asymptomatic and you ran around to all these places with all these different people, and you have to remember, some people, when they go someplace, 2 days later they find out, oh my God, I found out somebody there was uh tested positive for COVID. Let me run and get a test. The thing about it is it has to take a while for it to, like the viral load of the virus to get in the body for it to be detectable. So if you get sick, if the virus hits you today and you go get the testing tomorrow, it may not show up. That's the whole purpose of quarantining for 2 weeks. For some people, it may take more than 2 weeks. This is an anonymous disease, so they really don't know how it operates. But those 2 weeks when you're away from people, the chances of somebody else getting it and you spreading it, that's the most important part of it. And we've seen by all these super spreaders, by this past former in denial administration, how people were just spreading this thing around like wildfire. You've got half of your cabinet is your aides. All of your closest aides were infected, and you with them today and didn't quarantine, and you went off and did a campaign. You went on a campaign trail, and we're just watching this thing balloon. So even if you may not see it with people in your neighborhood, if you watch the news, you read the news, you see how this thing has ballooned from the top. They're showing you exactly why you need to do what you need to do. And now the chief, the head of housing, Dr. Ben Carson, is now infected. He's a doctor. And he didn't follow protocol. He was out there shimmying and dropping it like it was hot, like everybody else. Now he's got it. An elderly man, don't know if he has any underlying illnesses, but it's clear. You may not be able to see us on the front page, but these people you can see on TV every day. There's your facts. They're giving you facts of how quickly this can be spread. And if 30 people, at least 30 people were connected with our former president, how many people were those 30 people around?
So we only have a couple minutes left. I want us to finish up with one of our common themes, which is about boosting our immune system. We've always emphasized the top three: vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. Obviously, there are more things than this that you can take, but we want to start with the ones that are easy to remember and easy to access. We're going to, over the next coming weeks, um, uh, emphasize this more. We're going to talk about the next week. We're going to try to have some information on Thanksgiving recipes that can boost your immune system. So,
Yeah,
but now is the time to really look at what you're intaking. Set yourself up. Just as we said, prepare yourself and with your supplies in your cabinets and in your kitchen and in your home, the supplies that you need to supply your body with the nutrients that you're going to need to bring you through the winter. And this will not just protect you from COVID, it'll protect you from the flu and colds and all the other winter ailments that have a tendency to crop up at this time. And so we want to look at those food sources of vitamin D, butter and cod liver oil, eggs, meat, milk, salmon, sardines. We want to look at the food sources of vitamin C, which are fruits and aloe vera, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, green peppers, collard greens. There are a lot of great sources for vitamin C. You want to make sure that these are in your diet on a regular basis because vitamin C does not stay in the body. It comes in, it gets used, it goes to where it's needed, and whatever is not used goes out in your urine. Vitamin D has a tendency to stay in the body a little bit longer, so you can kind of build up your resources as we go into the cold weather months and we get less vitamin C from the sun. Vitamin E also is great for protection and antioxidation. And almonds, apricot oil, corn, cottonseed oil, hazelnuts, leafy green vegetables. And so there are a variety of different food sources in addition to the nutrients that you could get at your pharmacy or GNC, some of these places. But if you're planning to get those type of supplements, you need to start getting those now because you are going to see those things disappearing off of the shelves also as we get closer and closer to the cold weather season. So protect yourself, get your supplies, build your immune system up. That, of course, also means exercise, it means sleep, it means taking care. So it's about self care. Let's take care of ourselves and take care of each other. And I don't know what else we can say today, but as we say, we're not here to scare you. We're here to prepare you and give you the information that you need.
And as always, we wish you well. We wish you wellness and we wish you health,
Hmm.
good health. So,
That's it.
it is what it is. But we love
So
you.
we love you. We are the Harlem Emergency Network. You can see the information on the bottom of the screen. We're here every Wednesday morning at 9:30 a.m. And you can contact us either at the phone number on the screen or the email. And stay safe.
Take care. Be safe, everyone.